Drag racing fan, Monday morning racer. This is Between the Slicks, where we talk about it all between the slicks in the sport of drag racing. And tonight we're going to be talking a little bit of NHRA, funny car chaos, obviously, even some enduro drag racing with Sick Week coming up upon us. Got some content that dropped on Monday Morning Racer I want to share with you also. And I think later on tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our guest, the voice of Funny Car Chaos, Mr. David Rattan. We're going to have him on. Looking forward to talking to him. He, I believe, definitely should be ranked up there with the likes of an Al Tucci and a Brian Loans and many other well-known announcers. I think he should be known in the same light and be talked about in the same conversations as those great announcer individuals in the sport of drag racing. So we're going to be talking to him. Looking forward to that for sure. But before we do have David on, what's going on out there in the world of drag racing? What's going on out there in the chat right now? Drag Racing Central MMR. Hey, he's got a new video out. Go check it up, guys. Go check him out, guys. Jacobson, Gary Jacobson. What's up, man? I'm doing great. Great to be right here talking drag racing. Stan, hey, Stan, how you doing, man? MMR, that's right. Monday Morning Racer. Oh, yeah, the man, the myth, the legend, it's MMR. Hey, congratulations to Go and Bracket Racing. We got to have him back on the show before long and just talk to them about their channel again, talk to them about bracket racing in 2022. But congratulations, Go and Bracket Racing. Recently got over the 1,000 subscriber mark. That's big in the life of a YouTube channel. Congratulations, gentlemen. Stan says, what have you heard what Jim Head Racing is doing in 2022? Is Blake back? On that, Stan, I don't know of the driver lineup. All I have heard is there is the expectation that Head Racing will be on the premises for the Gator Nationals, that they're going to start kicking off there. All right. So that's what I've heard. That's all I know. Hey, make sure, keep watching the entry list for Pomona. Keep watching the entry list for Phoenix. You never know what might happen, but that is what I have heard so far, that we can expect them to be at the Gator Nationals. Don't know who's driving, though. Someone live streaming drag racing test or tune. You should check it out on YouTube. Well, we're live streaming drag racing right now concerning, the news of drag racing and talking to the personalities in drag racing and a wide range right here on this show, this platform. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks ago we had Paul Flynn, son of Rob Flynn, and he is a track engineer for Toyota. Last week we had John Charbonneau, who is a super fan and a great amateur photographer. And tonight we've got one of the voices of drag racing. Love to shake it up here. Love to have different people within the sport. And as I have regularly said, look, the big name guys, do they have a story? Yes. Do we want that story? Yes. But there's people you probably never heard about that we need to know their story. We need to hear from them. And let's see. And Rand, no, I will not be at any No Prep Kings event that I know of. My year, when I look already 2022, it is pretty solid with NHRA, PDRA, Funny Car Chaos. And many of you that know Monday Morning Racer is not just about drag racing either. So I will be focusing also on Carolina Sprint Tour, a local sprint tour in the Carolinas. It's one of the only dirt sprint tours in the Carolinas. And they've got like a 22 race schedule, and whichever ones I can catch, like their opener, I intend to catch them and go film those races and put them out on YouTube and try to give those guys some exposure, because in the Southeast, sprint car racing has not always been popular. It's actually not always been existent. So it's great to have an actual sprint tour in the Carolinas, and they're racing Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, a little bit of Virginia, which is great. And I'll also be focusing on Southeast Gasser Association drag racing, as I've got the posters there behind me from some of the events. Love my Southeast Gasser Association. So it is covered. Nothing against No Prep Kings. Maybe if there's an open weekend, can edge it in and go to one. I would like to see what they do. I'd like to see and interact with the personalities. A lot of great drag racing is happening over there, and definitely it has blown up in popularity for sure. Well, look, let's dive into some of the news. And some of you are asking questions alluding to the news that we will cover and talk about. Sam Folger, he is asking, who's the new crew chief for Salinas? Well, that answer came out yesterday before the news on Coletta, which we all kind of knew was going to happen. But this guy, Rob Flynn, the dad to Paul Flynn, who we had 2 weeks ago, he was there formerly with Coletta. He will now be tuning Mike Salinas in that Scrappers Racing Top Fuel dragster. And let me say, personally, glad to see that Rob Flynn has been able to find a place again in the world of NHRA drag racing. Hopefully, maybe we can have him come on, maybe at testing, can do the show there at testing and have him come on and talk to him. That's even next week. I don't know what it's going to be like next week for this show and for what all is going to be taking place, but hopefully we get to chat with him one way or the other. Glad to see that he has been picked up. He is going to be tuning again. It was funny. I'm at ZMAX last year, the fall race. I'm sitting on the wall. The track's being prepped. We're all waiting for go time. And Rob Flynn, who at the time I didn't know, walks up and he's like, "Hey man, just wanted to say, hey, I like your shows. Y'all doing a good job. Keep up the good work." And I'm like, "Hey, thanks. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it." And hey, who are you, by the way? He's wearing Mac Tools. And I'd never seen a photo of the dude. And he's like, "Oh, I'm Rob Flynn." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm stupid." So it was an interesting interaction to have that. And then Rob is let go from Coletta Motorsports and testing that very Monday. There's Aaron Brooks helping out with some of the tuning duties, but Aaron just signed with Doug Foley, and I helped Doug Foley. Look, silly season began for me, and I saw the dominoes begin rolling early on, and what a crazy silly season this has been. But glad to see that Rob Flynn, he'll be tuning for Mike Salinas. Now, that was announced yesterday. With that being announced, it became that much more clear that this gentleman, Alan Johnson, will be tuning for who? Well, Coletta Motorsports. And may I say, like, duh. I mean, we all saw this coming. We all saw this coming for a while. It had been rumored even before anywhere toward the end of the year that this was going to happen. We get to the last race. It is announced, not through a press release, but like over TV, over the, folks announcing in the tower, and it's the buzz is Alan Johnson's going there. And so this guy, whoa, wait. Don't say anything. And we waited and we waited and we waited. Here we are just days away from testing, and they finally make it official. What we all knew, truly the worst kept secret in NHRA drag racing. Alan Johnson is going to be tuning for the Colettas. Anybody out there in the Coletta camp watching, if you do watch, make sure that the refrigerator has Peroni and Reese's Buttercups, okay? Just make sure. I know that little inside information. Just make sure it is stocked over there. With all of that being said, Drag Racing Central chimed in. And he's like, "Hey, can we talk about how insane 2022 is going to be in NHRA? I've never seen this much hype for a season in my life." And I completely agree, Drag Racing Central. And I see it from Brian Loans. I have said it on this show and also on the Competition Plus Power Hour. I was even saying it last year that what happened with COVID, JFR, stepping out for a year, teams resetting and recalibrating, that 2021, you started seeing domino effects. Look how competitive Funny Car was. I predicted that. I was not shocked by it. I enjoyed the ride, though, that we had as fans and media to see it happen. And what we're seeing through what has been the wildest silly season, how many new teams have been formed? How many alliances have been formed? How many satellite spinoffs are there now? How many new cars and combinations of tuner and driver are out there now? It is a staggering number. We are on the precipice, I think, of one of the greatest years in NHRA Camping World competition. It will be a year that people rank up there with the likes of 86 and 88, and also back into the days of the late 70s and early 80s. We're looking at that at least in the fuel ranks, and I wouldn't even deny it for the naturally aspirated cousins of the NHRA as well. Yes, it will be insane, I believe. You look at Top Fuel, it looks very similar like Funny Car last year. I expect that there will be a broken heart or two because of individuals not making the countdown that were or should have been, in fact, championship caliber teams. Or we might even be shocked of who makes the countdown by just showing up for every race, but they should have been well into the points. It is going to be wild. I still think Steve Torrance will come out on top, but it will be a championship that he has to scrap for, and it may very well go down to the final round in Pomona, California. Drag racing fan, concerning the NHRA, I think we can rejoice on what we are about to see. It's going to be good. Let me go through the comments here really quickly. How about Alan Johnson going to a different team? Well, on the fact of him going to a different team, I'm not shocked. Alan has moved around a good bit in his career. After Blaine's passing, he has moved around a lot, and him moving around does not shock me at all. Stan says, testing next week, team count will rival the mid-2000s when over 30 nitro teams would be testing. Should be more talk about it. Look, the testing is going to be a great time. There are a ton of cars coming out. Remember, though, it's not every car that's going to be there. So we are looking at a time when you throw in all the part-time people. Drag racing and NHRA drag racing looks pretty healthy, and yet everybody wanted to gripe last year about not full fields. Look, maybe this year we're going to experience full fields everywhere. You still have people coming off of COVID. It's just let things come back, and I think they're coming back stronger than ever before, and we're looking at a great 2022 season. Testing is going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of stories there. How will people be gelling? Will anyone at the hit in the test make a mark in which we are taking a look and going, ooh, wow, those are numbers we didn't expect? Look, I'll be honest, not just because, of helping Doug Foley, but Aaron Brooks with Doug Foley, brand new car. I'm definitely intrigued. What are the numbers going to be like with that operation for Foley Lewis Racing? So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, keep your eye out on testing. You can see a live stream on competitionplus.tv. That's the YouTube channel, and I'll be there filming and getting photos, getting interviews, and you'll see my footage later with a different angle and perspective, obviously, on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. Going Bracket Racing says, could Funny Car Chaos merge with Southeast Gassers for bring the 70s back in all their glory? Who knows? Chris Graves, I will say, Chris, as a promoter, he is open to different things. He is open to the unique in the drag racing world. He realizes that there are people that want Funny Car Chaos on the West. He realizes that there are people that want Funny Car Chaos in the East. He has expressed that on this show. We've talked about it on competitionplus.com. And it's just a personnel, it's just a time, it's just a traveling issue. Most of those guys that run those events, they are Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska. They're in the Midwest. So that's why it's a Midwest type of series. But you never know. Maybe one day, Chris has expressed it, he's not against expanding. And as long as it's right, maybe we will see Funny Car Chaos East, West, Central, and there be a runoff at the end of the year. You never know. You never know. It's chaos. You never know what's going to happen, but chaos is a ladder. Didn't somebody say that once? Okay. Stan says, I don't see AJ Crew and Connie ending well based on Comp Plus article. Who knows? Who knows? We all know why he's going there. That's to get Doug a championship. That's the goal. We all know that. We all know that. And I do hope that happens. Drag Racing Central says the younger driver stepping up is great. Nothing against a John Force, but I can relate way more to a Justin Ashley or Austin Prock as a younger fan. Yeah, look, respect John Force, but you may not be able to relate to him. That's true. But relating to a Justin Ashley or an Austin Prock or a Krista Baldwin is huge. And we need them up front and center to carry the sport forward for sure. Never forget Don Perdome. Never forget Don Guards. Never forget John Force, because John Force isn't out of it. He can still go out there and win a championship possibly. But yes, they're stepping up, and I think NHRA is starting to take note of it. Like I saw recently, kudos to the NHRA and their social media team and their content team. They went out and got a shop tour of the Davis Motorsports shop. I think they're a little late and behind the 8 ball, because Monday Morning Racer, little old me, I was there 2-3 years ago and got that shop tour and got a shop tour from Lex June, got the shop tour of Cruz Petragon Racing. All of that is on the MMR YouTube library. Where were they? I hope they continue doing those things and building the social media portfolio. But I also hope they do it with the up-and-coming rising stars of the sport. So good point there, Drag Racing Central, for sure. Todd Dexter, man, Todd, hope you're doing well. Could this be the year Doug K could win the championship with AJ? Could be. Could be. Now, look, any team has got to have the gelling time. That process has got to happen for sure. But the presence that is AJ, and remember, it's more than Alan Johnson coming in. It is his entourage as well, and parts and pieces. And I imagine Coletta was already running AJPE. But I expect that we're going to see results. We're going to see results really quick. We know Doug can drive. It's just going to be a crazy year all around, though. But I will say this. If Doug gets the championship this year in 2022, even though it may be his one, he gets it and he's done. I think that's a possibility. He might just very well get the most challenging championship that NHRA Top Fuel has experienced. Yes, Doug Core, the DI awards were postponed. We will be viewing them later. Going Bracket Racer says, I don't know, was around today. Oh, Blaine. Yes, I get it. Yeah, I think you say that the wish was around today. Do you think Allen and Blaine would be more successful than John Force and Austin Coyle? Wow. Oh, I'm simply going to say no. I don't think they'd be as successful, because I think what Austin Coyle and John Force did, I think it's going to be something that may never be matched. Maybe somebody can come close, but I don't know if it will ever be matched. Now, it would have been great to have seen that duo go out and definitely, I think, establish the greatest Top Fuel team that we would have ever seen. That would have been fascinating to experience. Matt Clark, SOS from Down Under. Matt, yes. Well, let's talk about that really quickly. Australian drag racing is hurting for sure. This picture of Sydney Dragway, let me just say, Sydney Dragway, what a beautiful setup. What a beautiful setup there. The bowl, and then you can sit on the grass like bleachers. Just great setup. But this weekend, they were supposed to have the ADNRA, Australian National Drag Racing Association Nationals, a big event, probably, as I read, the big one. Well, They're not going to have it. There is, in essence, I'm trying to condense it, but you can read 2 great articles on Competition Plus from people in Australia, and then also Bobby Bennett, who is familiar with Australia himself, concerning the matter. Well, there is a sanctioning body squabble. The ADNRA and the IHRA, yes, the IHRA is down in Australia. They were brought in many years ago. The Sydney Dragway is going back to the IHRA, in short, due to litigation and settlement outside of court from everything I have read and understand. And this ADNRA race, if I just got that right, is not going to be allowed to run this weekend, and it was announced yesterday for our time. So maybe 2 days ago, Australian time, because they're in the future. Well, as Bobby Bennett put it, we may be looking at a future Australian drag racing civil war, as sad as that may be. I hope wiser heads come together and, for the sake of the sport there and overall, things can move forward, but it seems like it may go backwards before it does move forwards. But a nasty situation down there in Australia, and it's certainly sad to see. I thought there might have been some hope this year with other things that were announced, such as the Top Fuel Championship Series, but it looks like there's still going to be squabbling ahead. And that's something, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say this, with all this happening in Australia, we love to hate the NHRA, it seems. As Wes Buck says, I agree with it. As many have said, heavy is the head that wears the crown. They are at the top. But they've been doing it for 70 plus years, and there haven't been major splits. They've been able to provide a championship. They've crowned and created and fostered the biggest and greatest names in drag racing. That's something to be said. With all the squabbling that usually happens in motorsports, it's about as bad as Baptist churches. I tell you, I'm leaving. I'm going to start one over there. It seems like is what happens all the time. We need to appreciate what we've got here in the United States of America, that we have such a strong, unified front. Does it have its problems? Yes. But we're not seeing events canceled because a track changes the sanctioning body the weekend of. And that is essentially, from what I have read and heard, happened in Australia. So that's great. That's great. Yeah. I feel for you guys down there. Daniel says, with Schumacher only running one car, will Tony struggle to get going? No, I don't think he will struggle to get going. I think they were able to figure some things out when he made that return there during the COVID year. Remember, they got a win during the COVID year. So, no, I think they'll be back in form very quickly, and I think you will see him winning very quickly as well. And Daniel, also, remember, Don Schumacher is not running one car. He is running one Top Fuel car. But there are other cars in that stable. Factory stock is included. There are 3 factory stock cars in that program, and they still have the DSM, Don Schumacher Machining, the parts division as well. So Don Schumacher is plenty busy, but he also said that if someone brought the money to him, that they would put out a funny car or Top Fueler tomorrow if someone had the money and was willing to drive. So I don't think we're going to be looking at a 4-car situation all year. We may very well see an occasion such as Corey Mack coming to a race and fielding a Top Fueler under the DSR banner on occasion. American Hot Rod Entertainment says, yo, man, good to have you watching. Morgan Bratcher says, most FCC racers have everyday jobs. Hard to get all the way to the West Coast and East Coast. Plus, Chris's wife is super pregnant right now. Yes, that's right. And look, that's just it. Those racers, that's why it's a Midwest series. They have jobs. Look, just like a lot of the pro mod racers. Most of the pro mod racers today, they are professional drivers, but they're not the professional drivers in the sense that they earn their income solely from racing. In fact, the racing is a hobby in many respects. I mean, look at someone like Eric Latino, successful businessman. Why does he go pro mod racing? It's kind of his hobby. He's a professional, though. He is a great driver. He got a stout car, but it's because he's a successful businessman that he goes drag racing, and he has a business to run. That's why they don't want 20-something, 25-something races a year. They're fine with the 10, the 11, the 12, the 13 at tops in the pro mod world. Also, where are most of the pro mod guys? East Coast, whether it's north or south, that's where most of them are. There's even somewhat of a hub building around the Mooresville area in North Carolina for the door slammer guys, and they don't want to bother running all the way out to California or Colorado or Minnesota. So it's going to be rare to see them going out to those places unless there's some help. And I do hope in the future that there is more help for pro mod and that we can see more professional drivers coming into it. And mind you, even the professional drivers of the pro mod world, they're not just driving. Stevie Fast Jackson, I would say professional driver, but he makes his money not just from wheeling the thing, but tuning the things. So you have that duality as well. Let me continue. Sean says Doug is the best driver on tour to never win a tour. Yes, as I like to say right now, he's the Mark Martin of the NHRA, Drag Racing Central. I think if Coletta gets a championship, it's going to be Sean that gets it. I doubt that. It's just the nature of that car. That car has a different purpose. Got to realize in drag racing, whether we want to admit it or not, team orders are there. There is team duality and there is team unity on a single purpose. Just go back and look at the reason why Tony Petragon got a ride with John Force in the first place, and you'll figure that out. What's DSR fielding this year? Again, Tony Schumacher, one Top Fuel dragster, and there are 3 factory stock cars, making a total of 4 Don Schumacher racing cars. Also, he's open to having another car if someone brings the money. Remember that. Stan says, when was the last time AJ was on top? Brittany Championship. Ooh, you bring up a good point. Has AJ possibly slipped at all? Maybe. Could we have seen different results with Salinas if there was some better reaction times, though he worked that out toward the end of the year? Who knows? But I think you bring up a good point, Stan. I think you bring up a good point. Let me continue here. We got to get David on soon. Going Braggart Racing says, one thing's for sure, AJ wouldn't have made a lot of teams heroes if Blaine was still around. The better question is, what would Top Fuel be without AJ? Oh, sure. Yes, it would be a great question. He has definitely advanced the sport in the world of heads, definitely. But also remember, guys, AJPE, Alan Johnson Performance Engineering, it's not just Top Fuel, but Pro Mod guys, they're running those blocks, they're running those heads, and with those particular combinations, not necessarily a Top Fuel engine, but you have them running AJPE machine parts and pieces. So remember that. He has definitely affected the sport and well even beyond Top Fuel. Daniel says, I'm on the Nitro Bandit crew. It was great to meet you in Dallas. Looking forward to chaos. Daniel, I'm looking forward to chaos there at Enos, and I'm glad you're on that crew. Please tell Brad not to run me over again next time. No, it was great. No, it was close. It was close. Good to meet you too. And that was definitely a fascinating experience for me, and wondering like, man, he's awful sideways. I need to move. Glad that came out okay. Destroyer 1320. Yes, I plan on being at the Arizona Nationals for sure. Hopefully we can connect, guys. Destroyer 1320. He has a YouTube channel as well. Check him out when you get a chance. Stan says Kurt Johnson and Corey Mack are right up there with Doug. I would agree with that. And Destroyer 1320. $10 super chat. You are the best in motorsports. So much insider information. Well, I don't know about the best, but thank you. I appreciate that, Destroyer 1320. And guys, you see that? That's called a super chat. You can do that. You enjoy the show. You like what is happening with Between the Slicks and right here on Monday Morning Racer. You can actually donate, and every little bit does help, because I don't actually make a lot of money off all of this stuff. It has been a lot of sacrifice, and I just do it, and I enjoy it, and I love having the community. But yeah, you can drop a super chat if you would like. Let me very quickly wrap it up, and then we will get David on. Last thing two things I want to mention. Geforce transmissions, shop tours, Monday Morning Racer. I was there recently. You can find this video on the YouTube channel. We go inside to the producers of transmissions, 4-speed transmissions, and rear ends and differentials for the NASCAR world, for the drifting world, and yes, the world of drag racing, most notably the Southeast Gassers Association. And this is Geforce South. There's also Geforce North, but the owner of Geforce Racing Transmissions, Leonard Long, he's like a 5-time NMCA stick shift champion. You have a company that is all about racing, and they are led by racers. Last thing I want to mention, then we will get our guest on tonight. Sick Week is about to happen next week. Mickey Thompson has come on board to be the sponsor of this new endurance drag racing week. There with like Drag Week and Rocky Mountain Drag Week. Guys, in the chat, what do you think about the endurance drag racing, the drag and drive that is happening? I think it is some of like the purest forms of drag racing out there, that these guys, usually not for any money, are trying to go hundreds, if not thousands of miles and race their cars down the strip and have the lowest average time. And it's just fascinating. Like you see, I talked to Amanda Busick about it. We had her on after Hot Rod Drag Week right here on Between the Slicks. And it's just so interesting to see what is essentially like a pro mod with a trailer hitch, and the trailer's got slicks on it, and they got parts and pieces to work on the car, and they're traveling thousands of miles. So Sick Week. Definitely pay attention. Drag Illustrated is going to be covering it a lot. I'm looking forward that there is another event like that. I have got to do one myself eventually. Would like to see it. And what's cool is there are other smaller little independent ones popping up. Like, if I remember correctly, Corey Stamper, with the promotions he does here in the Carolinas, such as No Prep and No Time events, well, they've got a endurance race coming up. It's just going to be like 3 drag strips in the Carolinas, but hey, that's cool. Get the ball rolling, and it's happening, and love seeing these type of events. So if you haven't been to one, go check it out for sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break here on Between the Slicks, and right after the break, we're going to have David on. We'll chat with him on his drag racing story and taking all of the chaos in. This word from Power Built Tools. Power Built Tools exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power Built Tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase. David, man, how you doing tonight?
I am doing great, Lee. I've been excited to join you for tonight's conversation, and even more so, I'm really looking forward to this season that we're about to kick off with Funny Car Chaos in 2022.
Man, it is definitely shaping up to be the best season yet. I was texting a little bit with Chris today, and he's like, it's going to be fire emoji. It's going to be lit. I'm definitely looking forward to 2022 myself. Look, let's get this out of the way. Some announcing and enunciation. Your last name, how do you pronounce it? Let's be accurate on that.
Over the course of my lifetime, I've got to where I'll answer to just about anything. One time somebody said, do you say Rattan? And I said, yeah. I was like, wait a minute, I don't. It's Ratton. It's just like, George Patton, the general. Ratton, David Ratton. Yeah.
There we go, David Ratton. Well, we got it down, and from there we will move forward. Well, look, as I talked to you on the phone, as I was even expressing here on the show, I definitely think you should be accredited up there with the likes of Al Tucci and Brian Loans. You do a great job behind the mic for Funny Car Chaos. And that's when I first heard you, was Funny Car Chaos. But where did it all begin to do this announcing gig? Because there's always a start. So how did you get your start in this world behind the mic?
Well, it was out at Amarillo Dragway. I grew up out at Amarillo Dragway, or not at Amarillo Dragway, but I grew up in the Texas Panhandle. And after years of working in my career, which was in trucking and transportation, I was transferred back home to Amarillo, and I always wondered what was happening out at the drag strip because I had spent so much time there as a kid. And so one day I'd finished making sales calls, and I was a freight rep for a trucking company called AAA Cooper Transportation. And so I drove out to the drag strip on the way back to the terminal, and there was a guy standing there at the fence doing a little bit of work, and his name was Bill Hibbard, and he was a brother-in-law to Bill Helsher, Mr. Bardall from the 60s and 70s growing up. And so I just stepped out of my car and said, "Hey, could y'all use any help?" And I'm standing there in a coat and tie. And he says, "Doing what?" And I said, "Well, anything, I'm just wanting to know if you are going to need some help this year." And he said, "Well, let me get your phone number and I'll get back to you." Well, a week or so later, he calls me up and says, "Well, hey, why don't you meet us for breakfast out at Betty's Cafe, which is on the east side of Amarillo. It's not there anymore, but something's there." And so we're sitting there and we're going to meet with the owner of the racetrack. And the owner was Bill Helsher. Well, the only thing I knew about Bill Helsher was that he had multiple car teams back in the 60s, that he was a world champion in AHRA, Super Stock, and Pro Stock. And he was, I'd seen his picture in all the drag racing magazines, and I thought he must be 10 feet tall. So I see this guy go across the window in the front, and he's just kind of going like that. And his sister, which is Patsy, said, "There he is." And he came in, and of course, those that know Bill, he's like 5 foot, I don't know, 5'6" would be pushing it. And just a real small guy, and curly hair and big smile. And we met at that time. And so I'm meeting an idol of mine because Mr. Bardall, he was in all the publications, and just a big time guy. And after we talked, he said, "Yeah, I guess we can give you a try." So I started off at the gate with a clipboard, getting people to sign insurance waivers when they came into the gate. I did that for about a week, and they said, "Well, this guy might work out. So why don't you get their money for their tickets too?" So I've still got the clipboard, but now I'm making change. And then one day the tech and staging guy was sick and was unable to come in. So Bill Hibbard comes over and says, "Can you do tech?" I said, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "Tell me what to do." Well, I found out that at a small racetrack, tech inspection is not a whole lot involved to it. In fact, he told me as long as they've got seat belts and at least 3 lug nuts on each wheel, they're probably good to go. So anyway, I did tech and staging and learned how to draw cards. And so after doing that for a few weeks, the starter was unable to make it one day. And Bill Hibbard comes to me and he says, "Can you start?" I said, "Oh, yeah." And said, "Show me what to do." So we go up there and I get the headset and he gives me the switch, and here's your panic button to turn the reds on if somebody's leaking or something goes wrong up there. And he taught me what to do. So I started for a few weeks. So I've spent some time down there between the cars. And so then one day the announcer didn't show up. I think he was, we won't go into what was going on there, but because I don't really know. But he said, "Can you announce?" Well, that was the first time that he ever asked me, "Can you do this?" that I actually knew I could do it. And I said, "Oh, yeah." So anyway, he takes me up there and, well, it's time to get started. And I paced around the tower for seemed like forever, but it probably was only about 30 seconds or a minute. But man, when you turn the mic on, it's go time. And so I began to put my voice out over there and let the super pros know it was time to come up to the staging lanes for their first time trial. And so we went from there. That was 1997. And I've been doing it pretty much ever since that time. And man, it has turned into such a blast. But, Bill and Patsy Hibbard and Bill Helsher really the ones that gave me my first break, getting into working at a drag strip and eventually making my way to the announcer's booth.
All right. Why drag racing? How did you develop a love and passion for the sport? Where's the inception of it? Because here you are, you're announcing drag racing. I mean, you could be doing fly fishing for all I know if if the stars didn't align just right. So, where did you get hooked, man?
It happened. I grew up at a place called Cal Farley's Boys Ranch, which is just north of Amarillo. And there was a nitro funny car racer named Kelly Chadwick who was from Amarillo. And he came out, he brought his funny car in, I think it was 1969. And so he had his nitro burning funny car in front of the high school at Boys Ranch. And they turned out school for us to come out and do this. He was going to do a safety talk and whatever like that. But anyway, one of my announcing influences was the guy that announced the football games at our town, Bus Duggar. And Duggar was telling all of us elementary school kids, because I was third grade, maybe fourth, I think third. And he said, okay, when I tell y'all, when I put my hand down, I want y'all to run towards the street. Well, we were walking out there and I'm hearing this sound that is like, I've never heard anything like this. And it's really cool. And so, our principal, Duggar, he says, okay, go. So we start running towards the street. And about that time, Kelly Chadwick nails the throttle on that nitro funny car. And you should have seen us all just turn around and go the other way. I didn't see a thing, but I sure heard it. And then, so he pops the parachutes out there a little way after this exhibition pass in front of the school at my little town. And then they take the ramp truck down there because it's totally old school 69 and 69 Camaro with that Chevrolet 67 Chevrolet ramp truck, and the parachutes pop and they tow him back with the body up. And they do a little deal. Well, I am hooked. The hook has gone in deep. And of course, shortly after that, you've got the Mongoose and the Snake on Saturday morning cartoons. As we're watching Saturday morning cartoons, we're seeing Hot Wheels. So what shows up at my house is lots of Hot Wheels track and lots of Hot Wheels. And so we raced inside when it was cold, and we had a drag strip out in front of the house with our bicycles. We put gravel on the street so we could peel out to do the burnouts. And we raced from the lilac bush down to the evergreen tree every afternoon when it was warm enough and nice enough to do. So, and then I went to my first drag race in 1970. I saw the Hurst Hemi Underglass, and I saw there's a Chevelle wheel standard called the Moonshot. I saw a bunch of Texas Top Fuelers, probably Stevens and Venables, and maybe Prentice Cunningham's dragster from Lubbock. And I saw a bunch of funny cars. Kelly Chadwick was not at that race, and he was always, still is, perhaps my favorite, but he wasn't at that race. But I saw him again through the years and saw an awful lot through the years. But that's how it got started, was Kelly Chadwick brought his funny car. And when I was in third grade, 10 years old, it was an exhibition pass in front of the school at my little town. And I've been deep into it ever since.
God bless Texas. There's nowhere else that's happening. Yes, that is so cool. Man, could you imagine all the red tape that have to be cut for something like that to happen today? Yeah. Oh my goodness. No, that is a spectacular story, David, to experience that as a young kid, and I'm sure many more fans were made that day in that experience. Wow, that's a cool one. We need to have that happen more often at schools. We have more drag racing fans. Wow.
Well, you see things posted periodically, and it's a common thing on Facebook talking about like a sign that's been posted at the racetrack. There's a little kid at this racetrack that wants to be just like you, and so live your life accordingly, and make some fans. And Lee, one of the things about Funny Car Chaos, and we don't have a monopoly on this, but we certainly have a handle on how important it is to reach out and embrace the fans, whether they're adults like me who've been at this for a long time, or whether it's kiddos running around. One of the best is Andy Mears. Andy and Jan, we're all missing Jan, but we love the way that they would reach out to the kids at the Dragon Slayer pit, and they're not the only ones. Todd Barker and the group over at Back in Black setting up tables with the coloring books that come from Drag Daddy's garage and having the contest, so that because not every kid that comes to the racetrack is gonna instantly be hooked on it, but you can cultivate things like that with just by giving people an opportunity to experience the sights, the sounds, the smells, and mostly that human touch that we can make happen if we choose to.
Right. I relate in my story of being connected and coming to love drag racing that, odd enough, Jolly Rancher, when they were big in the sport, well, what do kids love? Candy. I love candy just as much as any other kid, but my first national event at Atlanta Dragway, I don't remember much of the drag racing. I don't remember much of the cars, actually. It's the pits, and I remember taking home Jolly Ranchers, and somehow the green Jolly Rancher was John Force, and the red Jolly Rancher was Kenny Bernstein, and I drag raced Jolly Ranchers on the coffee table. It's that's like one of the earliest memories of like me in drag racing. But yeah, you make that connection, you invest that time. They were a great sponsor, I think. I really feel they ought to be considered again of being involved in drag racing or motorsports somewhere, because yeah, I got hooked. And when I think, even to this day, hard candy, I go for Jolly Rancher. Nothing else.
Yeah, that's fact. And they sponsored quite a few different things. I remember they had a wheel stander. I believe it was the Stagecoach. And you make impressions like that. At that first drag race I went to, the guy I was sitting there next to, when the wheel standers, got on the back bumpers and they have the sparks coming off, I was just kind of like that. The kid next to me was laughing his head off. He thought that was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Well, whether you think it's funny or whether you think it's cool or whether you think it's awesome, man, you're going to think something about that. And it's going to be an impression that will probably hang with you, because we have some of the most incredible sights to behold at the racetrack. And we kind of get used to it. Yes. We think it's no big deal. But it is a big deal, and it can be used. And we love how the way people wrap their arms around our fans and bring them in. It's so much fun to be at a chaos event, and we truly love all the new people that are coming and experiencing it. Because whether you've got a nostalgic feel for drag racing like some of us do, or whether you've never been to a race before, we got something for you.
Definitely do. Now, I want to make sure. I went and I Googled really quick. Is this what you saw?
No, that was it was the car before that.
Now, so the Camaro, the other Camaro.
Yeah, it was a candy apple red 69 Camaro. Now the one you've got on the screen right there, that was one that was where Kelly Chadwick became like, I don't know, that car right there was in Cars magazine, and it was in the advertising for Kelly Chadwick, defending champion of the high performance cars event, because all the magazines used to have an event,
right?
The Superstock Nationals and the Pop Rod championships and the cars meet at Atco, New Jersey. Well, this car right here, that's the one. That's the first one I saw, and that orange and white one. Lots of great news always came out from the manufacturers meet at Orange County International Raceway. Well, in 1971, Kelly Chadwick ran a 6.73 second elapsed time with that orange and white second generation Camaro right there. And I read about that in the Amarillo Daily News, written by Dave Dinsmore, because I just happened to be growing up at a time when Dave Dinsmore, which if you don't know who that is, he was the guy that worked at the Amarillo paper. The World Finals came to Amarillo, and they were like, this dude is good and he likes drag racing, and they offered him a job. So he moved to California and worked for the NHRA for a good while. And then him and Steve Earwood got together and they started doing motorsports marketing and PR and that kind of thing for a lot of different teams, especially John Force Racing. And but anyway, so I grew up. My mom was a librarian, and I would go to check out the Amarillo paper on, I think it was Tuesdays. It'd be Dave Dinsmore on sports. And of course, most of the time he had to write about stick and ball stuff, but every time he got a chance to, he'd sneak a little something in there about drag racing. And so Dave Dinsmore contributed to my affection for drag racing. So that was just one of those things. There's a lot of thin little threads that went through Amarillo because the track there was headquarters for Division 4 all the time that it was NHRA sanctioned. And my primary announcing model is Dale Ham. Dale Ham was Division 4 director from the beginning of it. And he was an artist. And when you see the guy in the cowboy hat, the good guys, Division 4, the good guys, he was an artist. He drew that. And that's just how it was. It was not, it was not done anything like, these big advertising companies doing all that stuff and putting it together. No, these guys put together the stuff for their divisions. But anyway, Dale Ham, and almost every race I'll give something that says as Dale Ham would say, the far is lit, because he had that very Southern drawl, and some people say I do, and they're probably right. But anyway, so Dale Ham, and a lot of things came through Amarillo, and I just consider myself really, really fortunate.
Well, speaking of those particular catchphrases, we had Drag Racing Central in the comments mention, this individual's got, attention to the pits, or this individual's got this particular phrase, like Al Tucci's got long, smoky, beautiful burnout. Well, what's yours? I know Chris has mentioned to me you've got these great poems before the race starts. He's mentioned that. But yeah, what is your catchphrase? What is something that you lean on out there behind the mic?
Oh, I don't know. One of the things I was working with Fabian Brown up at US 131 Motorsports Park, and he was doing a lot of stuff, and I was doing the funny car chaos part, and so I told him, I said, ladies and gentlemen, we have just received word from the National Weather Service, and we've got the forecast. It's partly cloudy skies and a 100% chance of thunder. And so you'll hear that probably about every race. And it was funny. I laughed at Fabian. He goes, I'm just going to tell you, I'm stealing that one. But, there's original things, and there's a lot of stuff that you've heard from somebody else. There's probably not anything in the world that's original, but I don't know. That's one of them that comes to mind, and that comes from my dad, because one of his favorite things was the weather forecast in the Panhandle of Texas: partly cloudy skies with drifts to 3 feet. Could be snow, could be dust, it could be tumbleweeds. That was it. One of his favorite things that he would always tell people who hadn't been blessed by the high winds in the Texas Panhandle. But anyway, I don't know. There's probably things I say repetitively. One of them, of course, is what mighty fine in a big old funny car chaos howdy.
From what I understand right now, it's definitely the drift of snow with Texas.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is up there, and we've even got a little bit of it here in Fort Worth.
Ah, yes, the great city of Fort Worth. I got family that lives in Arlington, so know Fort Worth pretty well, the Metroplex. A great area to be in Texas for sure. Well, Funny Car Chaos. How do you and Chris Graves connect, and what did you first think of the platform that Chris had conjured up in his mind? And y'all are out there, like even today on the YouTube channel, it was released a recap of the inaugural event. And here we are coming on 2022. It's going to be, including Nitro Chaos, it's going to be 11 races this year. So it's definitely grown and it's now very, very healthy. Did you think it was crazy at the beginning?
No, I loved it. One of the things that I have discovered, Chris and I, we mesh. We connect on a lot of levels. He was a photographer, and I was the junior dragster director at Texas Raceway in Kennedale. And so every now and then, Chris would come out, and he and Tara would come out. And of course, they take pictures, and and he was making his living traveling from race to race, taking pictures and putting them in frames and putting them on mouse pads back then, and putting them on all different kinds of ways, coffee mugs, and all those things that you do when you're a photographer. And so that's my first. I think that's kind of the first time that Chris and I met, and so I was at Texas Raceway from 2000 until it closed in 2016, and so we would cross paths out there. And then how did this go? I think it was 2014. Yeah, I believe it was 2014. Chris called me and wanted to know if I would announce the Pro Mod versus Fuel Altered Showdown. And I hadn't really ever worked at North Star Dragway up in Denton, and because we were always racing at Kennedale. We raced all the cotton picking time. And so I think a Pro Mod Fuel Altered is the first thing I did, and then started doing a little bit more out there. And then when Texas Raceway closed, I started doing a little bit more out there. Worked with a great guy out there named Robert Hicks, and Chris Knight. Had a great time with some more good announcers out there, and we had fun working together. But in 2015, Chris invited me to announce the SHRA, the Southwest Heritage Racing Association, which was a phenomenal group. Nostalgia Eliminator 1, 2, and 3 on an index on the 8th mile, with electronics and no electronics, and Nostalgia Superstock. And for those of you that are coming to the race, the Classic, coming up in 6 weeks out now from the Classic at Texas Motorplex, when you see the TDRA, the Texas Drag Racing Association, a lot of those guys raced in the SHRA. Well, I got a chance to be the series announcer for that for 5 years, and that was one of the most remarkable series. We had too much fun with that one, and it had kind of the same feel that Funny Car Chaos does. Everybody was out there just having so much fun. There's a lot of competitive nature in people that race and the people that like to race. And sometimes that can kind of be a negative because it's too much button heads. But the SHRA and Funny Car Chaos now, they've got a feel about them of camaraderie that is unique, and it is fantastic. It is so much exciting. Thank you, Morgan. I knew we were 6 or 7 weeks. It's getting here quick, and I can't wait for it. That's somebody right there that does a great job with social media, is Morgan Bratcher over at High Risk Racing. They are just such a phenomenal team.
Well, they are the leaders in just about everything. I was looking over the results and trying to build some stats, doing my homework for the upcoming role that I have with Funny Car Chaos, and I texted Chris. I'm like, who's gonna stop Ken? Anybody gonna stop Ken anytime soon? Like, what's going on? No, they definitely have definitely put out and fielded a good team. Got to talk to Ken last year on this very show, and looking forward to definitely interacting with all the guys. So look, I was there last year at the Classic, and what a spectacular event it was. A historical event, an event that still has a ripple effect into the world of drag racing, and it looks like, well, about to do it again in every shape, form, and fashion. What are you seeing? What are you thinking of as we do draw closer, 49 days away for the Funny Car Classic there at the Texas Motorplex? What's on your mind the most?
I was talking with somebody about this. Another great announcer that I've worked with is a fantastic gentleman named Gary Gilland, and his story is he was working at Green Valley Raceway, and when he was a kid, I'm not sure he was even a teenager yet, and Bill Helsher needed somebody to announce. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but he came and got Gary out of the concession stand and got him up there and stuck the mic in front of him, and he started announcing. And man, he and I were talking today, and I was telling him that we've already got 55 funny cars pre-entered, and we're 7 weeks away. We had 68 last year, and it was just crazy wonderful. And but we've already got 55 entered now, and of course we've got Fred Spell, we've got Ed Wolf, we got Marvin Rodak, we got Mike Shalando. We've got so many great sponsors and friends that continue to support Funny Car Chaos, and they have stepped up. And for the classic, Andy Carter and Billy Meyer and Cheeseburger and Godzilla out there, they are on it. They are ready to bring a phenomenal show again. We got Warren Evans coming in with the live stream broadcast that it's going to be on flowracing.com. I believe O'Reilly Auto Parts is bringing that to us this year. And this 2 Nitro Chaos and 8 points races plus 1 exhibition, 1 non-points race for Funny Car Chaos. Race this first one will be race number 30 of Funny Car Chaos, and if you count the Nitro Chaos, then anything called Chaos, it'll be race number 31. But we have got so many milestones that we continue to just blow by, and our racers, I mean, it is so much fun to see the nitro cars and the alcohol cars and the nitrous cars and the turbo cars. And this year going to be another turbo car with that Ratitude machine out of Wichita. And I'm telling you, just the camaraderie that I talked about earlier. I cannot wait to see these people again, and they can't wait to see each other again. And it is so much fun to experience a Thursday night pre-party and a Friday couple of qualifying rounds, and then get into eliminations on Saturday. There's just so much to love, and I'm thinking that the crowds are going to be bigger, even though it's going to be a little bit more expensive to get to the races. I'm thinking that the crowds are going to be good. I'm thinking that the racer participation is going to be fantastic, and I'm just thinking it's one for the books, and I can hardly wait to get started with it. I'm started already with, looking out for what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be talking about, and what we're going to be highlighting. But I'm excited that you're coming on to help us with reports from the pits and social media and all that kind of stuff. Plus, coming up with some little chaos live a little bit in the not too distant future.
Right, definitely going to get Chaos Live going with yourself, and looking forward to that. Again, putting these guys who are competing in Funny Car Chaos on a platform like they should be on. And the reason is there's so many great characters and there's so many different combinations. Like, I'm hoping that I can set up a shot and get it for Flow Racing on the broadcast, that if we can get them all lined up, like, oh, here's the turbo funny car, here is the nitrous funny car, here is the nostalgia funny car. Oh, by the way, we're not done yet. Here's the big show funny car, and showcase that this is all run what you brung, heads up, drag racing. And what Chris has done, I think, is something that people in the drag racing world have dreamed of for decades. And he just said, I'm going to do it. And then he did it again with Nitro Chaos. I mean, when I was there in Eddyville last year, that was my birthday weekend. And, a lot of people love to choose different things to do on their birthday weekends. But I'm like, I'm going to go film this epic historical event and see this, because it is drag racing heaven, that all these combinations would come together and duke it out. Now, David, recently, a legendary name in the funny car world is the last name of Hoffman. And Wayne Hoffman said he's going to bring this thing down to the Motorplex for the Funny Car Classic there at Funny Car Chaos. And that is a tribute car, running, functional, competitive to his dad, Al Hoffman's China Syndrome. So, what does it feel like to be a part of a series and a part of an event and see where it has come from to what it is now, that people are saying, we're going to bring some of the most historical and significant names from the past into the future and debut and do tributes and all of that at a Funny Car Chaos event?
You just hit on something that is, I don't know, it's just amazing. And it started at the first one. At the first race, we had Grady Bryant, we had Rick Johnson, we had, I didn't see him, but I think we had Lance Larson there tuning on a car. We had people, of course, we've always we've got just the local people. We had Dale Emery and all of these people, and I get a chance to interview some of these people, and it's like, oh my goodness, I am just beside myself, because I grew up reading about these people. And at the next year, I got to interview Nelson Carter, and you talk about a guy with a story and a great ability to tell it. But you go through the pits at Funny Car Chaos, and you don't even have to go through they're not wearing a sign that says, "Hey, I used to drive the Hawaiian." They're just there to take it all in like everybody else. But if you happen to know, hey, that's Brent Fanning, or that's Roland Leon, you can't miss Roland. Or you've got all of these guys, some of them driving in Funny Car Chaos, some of them just coming out to see their old friends. But the fact that it's reaching people, Bill D brings his cars down, and and so many more, to be a part of that. And one of the guys that keeps threatening to come, Kogo Eads. There are just so many. We could go on and on. People that have shown up, and people that are talking about it, and it hadn't worked out for them yet. But the fact that we're making that connection, and this is one of the things that Chris and I have talked about this, because we've talked a lot over the years we've been doing this. But funny cars make a connection, and I'm not sure what exactly it is about funny cars that has that bit of magic to it. But I can tell you this: when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, and probably even to this day, but talking about when I first got started, and I was on my way on South Washington Street going out to Amarillo Dragway, and it's tabletop flat out there, just in case somebody was to ride up on their horse and ask you. And you could see all the way out to the drag strip. It's a long way, you can't see anything, but the color of the race cars, particularly the funny cars, because the dragster's on the ground, but a funny car's got the body up, and so you can see it a further way off. But that magic that goes with a funny car, it's catching, and I'm telling you, it has been part of the breed of funny car ever since its inception. And it's so much fun because it doesn't seem to wear off. I'm as excited about Funny Car Chaos as I was about funny cars at the World Finals in 1971, 72, 73. I'm probably more excited about it because I'm, further into it. But if you've been around, and if you've been around it, and you've experienced the people and the excitement that comes with this, you just can't not want to be a part of it. So, the thing about it is the invitation is open. That's one of the things that Chris talks about all the time, is that if somebody wants to run a turbo funny car, come on. There's not a rule that says you can't. I love it that we are so inclusive, If you want to run your stuff, as long as it's safe, bring it on. And it's so fantastic that it appeals to young, it appeals to the veterans, it appeals to those who've been there, done that, got the Wally, you know what I mean? And but they can come out and chase their own Funny Car Chaos trophy, or they can come out and hang out and experience that same vibe that's made it magical for all these years.
So true. And I believe last year was it had the billboard moment of like what Funny Car Chaos is about and is that the nitro car with an individual piloting it that is funny car history in Dale Worsham is knocked out by the Alki car in the A field at the Funny Car Classic by someone who like who's that kid? Who is that guy in Kyle Smith? And right there, Funny Car Chaos. There it is. You see it live in the moment. The matchup that you're like, oh, there's no way Dale is going to lose. He loses it. And we have the no-name kid get it done there at the Texas Motorplex. And that's just doggone cool.
It is. And you think about this little twist on that story is it was at the Texas Motorplex owned by a guy who was a no-name kid that went out there and won the manufacturers meet at Orange County International Raceway and went from, teenager driving a funny car to holy smoke, this kid, Billy Meyer, is something else. Well, we're racing at his track twice this year. That's pretty cotton picking nice. Yeah. Hey,
it is. And
you talked about
fitting.
some things, the poems and stuff. We talk about trivia, and I'll give you one that you can work on sometime. And, a lot of references I will make have to do with music because some of my influences were radio disc jockeys. I went to school at West Texas State, which is now called West Texas A&M. And they've got there's been some, terrific on-air personalities that have come from there. And I got a chance to hang out with some of those. Never been a DJ, but gosh, I love what they do, Janice and the others that came from there. But so there's two of my favorite songs. One of them is Shooting Star by Bad Company, and one of them is Dirty Water by the Standells. Now, if you take those two songs and you kind of put them together, there's the Funny Car Chaos connection in there. So that'd be my challenge to you, brother, is to come up with the Funny Car Chaos connection between Dirty Water by the Standells and Shooting Star by Bad Company.
Okay. I'll have to work on that one for sure.
And you could get help. You can probably get help from the audience here on Between the Slicks because I know you've got a pretty big circle.
Someone knows out there for sure. I'll get some help on it. Well, Funny Car Chaos is growing and expanding, and I love how Funny Car Chaos, especially at least this year, and I'm sure it's been other years as well, is going to old territory, making it new. Fascinating, and I love to hear that, well, going to State Capitol Raceway, where the Cajun Nationals was. Last event was 1990, bringing nitro, bringing funny cars, bringing even top fuelers, two of them, back to the old Cajun National stomping ground. So, again, Funny Car Chaos, Chris Graves, yourself, the whole platform is shedding water in a positive way in the drag racing world.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to that. My youngest daughter went to college at LSU, and so we would go down to Baton Rouge, and you can go down to I-10 and take the 10 bridge across, or you can cut across at Opelousas. Well, that goes right by the drag strip. So more than a few times, we decided to take the old bridge over the Mississippi River, and so we could pass on by State Capitol Raceway, because even if they're not racing, it just kind of makes me feel like, hey, that's a place I like right there. So to get a chance to go down there and do a race at that historic facility, that's going to be all kinds of fun. To add a little new geography, to have the opportunity, and of course, we have the Dirty South Gassers that race with us a lot, and they're going to be down there. Chantel and the group really just always bring a phenomenal show, and quite a few of those gassers, they run in the Southern Outlaw Gassers a lot of times, but they'll come over and run with us too. So we're going to kind of be getting down there in their stomping grounds, and a lot of quality gassers and just super fun people. That's going to be, that might be, what do you say? How do you say it, Lee? That'd be a party where a drag race breaks out.
Yes,
be
I
a
hear
real
you.
good
I hear
time.
you. Yes, yes, yes. I hear you on that. Well, man, funny car chaos. Chaos in the name. What has been the most chaotic moment? What moment was just the wildest moment that you've seen and experienced from the tower of, now 30, 31 races in with the brand?
You know, the first year of the championship tour, um, Alan Middendorf comes in with that awesome nitro burning machine out of Illinois, and they knew exactly what they had to do to take the championship away from Ken Singleton and the Singleton and Raber high risk. They had figured it out on the points. They had to come in. They had to reset the ET record. They had to reset the mile per hour record because there was extra points for it at that time, and they had to win the race. And if they did all of that, it would be like that 1989 top fuel race between Gary Ormsby and Joe Amato, which came down to the very last run of the very last race, and it was pretty much the same thing the next year, which kind of went the other way with Amato. But Jake Sanders and Alan Middendorf and that great crew at the American Outlaw, they came in, they knew exactly what they had to do. They got off the trailer, they came out, and they made the first run. Bing, got it. But I think that was the ET record, and then come out to get the mile per hour record, and the chute didn't come out on time, and got into the catch net up there at the end of the racetrack, and so that was the end of the weekend, and so they were unable to accrue any more points. But seeing that car going down there at 200 and something miles an hour and no chute until too late, and seeing Alan take it into that catch net sideways, that was at least one of the most chaotic moments that we've experienced. Hated to see that happen to them, and hated to see anything like that happen to anybody. But yeah, that one comes to mind right up front.
All right, David. Near the end of this show, gotta ask your predictions on champions of the particular fields in Funny Car Chaos. Who gets A, who gets B, and from what I understand, we got a dedicated C field this year as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's going to be there's going to be 3 fields at least at each race, and those have all been been taken care of by our phenomenal sponsorship from Fred Spell and Ed Wolf and a host of others. And so we've got 3 fields, and there's already going to be 4 fields at Ennis for the Classic. And so, there's only one champion. There's not an A-class champion, a B-class champion, a C-class champion. There is race by race. And with so many cars coming to the Classic, 2021 was different because there were cars that you knew you were going to see there that you were never going to see again, but they were so fast that they pushed some people into the ranks of the DNQ because there were just so many really fast cars there that even with 32 spots, some of the folks that wound up contending for the championship wound up DNQ and watching on Saturday. So now it's tough to get into. You don't know exactly who all's going to continue to run all the races, but you can use history to predict certain things. I think anybody that would bet against Singleton and Raber for being in the thick of it is kidding themselves, because when you want to see a professional organization that knows what they're doing, everybody knows their job and they do it. They don't have to be told, they don't have to think about it. They do it, and they do it well. So they are going to be a contender. And can they make it 4 in a row? I don't know. I'll guarantee you they think they can, because that's the way they're wired. They don't come there for second place. Now, a team that is very similar to that, they finished second last year, the Williams gang out of Iowa. Man, I'm telling you what, it was a slugfest each and every time. And, Williams got some and Singleton got some, and it came down to them being top 2. Now, what has happened is you've got some of the other competitors that have okay, they kind of felt like they were bringing a knife to a gunfight, so they have upgraded their equipment. And so you've got all kinds of people like, I don't know, maybe Doak and Polison that have taken that bucket list car and added a little more horsepower to it. Can they make enough runs to get enough points to be up there at the top, or will they continue to take their conservative approach of, no more qualifying runs than they need to make to get into the show? Well, a big thing about making points in Funny Car Chaos is that there's points every time you make a run down the track in qualifying. You get 3 opportunities for that. That's 15 points. If you forego 10 of those points, well, you may take home the event championship, but not likely that you'll wind up being in the, get the championship. So predictions, I know too many of these guys and love them and don't want to step on anybody's toes, but you'll have a hard time. Well, I don't know. It's going to take, I'll just put it this way. It'll take commitment from a team to be at every race. Now, we've seen that. We've seen that from so many. We've seen it from Furches. We've seen it from Jade. We've seen it from Butheris. And we saw it from Mears. We've seen it from Cameron. And we've seen it from Barker. I could go on and on and on. And we've seen it from Lawson and so many. So any one of those has the opportunity, because they are all so close to being at that level of consistency and speed, that they are subject to take a win in any particular event. And then one of the things that's very unique about Chaos is you don't have to be the fastest person there, because if you win the C field at every single event from the number 1 spot, which is what, number 17, and make all your qualifying runs and that kind of thing, you could be the champion, just like the 3-time and defending champion Ken Singleton can. So that's one of the things that makes it so fantastic. You don't have to spend everything, you don't have to have $1 bazillion to have a hypothetical chance of winning the championship in Funny Car Chaos. So come on, bring what you got, do it well, and do it often, and you've got a chance to claim that crown.
Only at Funny Car Chaos can something like that happen, and that is why it is so good for sure. Well, David, look, it has been great to have you on. Look forward to working with you. Look forward to firing up Chaos Live once again. But thank you, man, for sharing a bit of your story and a love for the chaos that is Funny Car Chaos right now, right here on Between the Slicks tonight. Thank you, man.
Man, I appreciate that a lot. I'm a Colossians 3:23 kind of a guy. Whatsoever things you shall do, do them heartily as if to the Lord. So whatever you're doing, do it well, do it strongly. And I'd say that you're doing that, my friend. I'll see you at the track.
Take care, David. Thank you. All right, folks, voice of Funny Car Chaos, David Rattan there. And look, it was great to have him on and chat with him and get prepared for what is going to be an epic 2022 in Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos. If you have not been to a Funny Car Chaos event, look, there's still time, and you need to make plans. You need to be there in March. It's toward the end of March. It's at the Texas Motorplex, the Funny Car Classic. It is going to be stellar. The biggest funny car event that there is in the world right now. I was there last year. It was epic. I'm going to be there this year. It will be epic. You need to be there as well as a drag racing fan. But if you're not able to get there, I highly recommend find the nearest Funny Car Chaos event to you. Maybe that's going down to State Capitol Raceway there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and experiencing the Funny Car Chaos Cajun Nationals and bringing all the nitro back for the first time there to that track. Maybe it's there for that non-points paying race at Cordova, Illinois, or maybe it's going out to Eddyville, Iowa, one of the most beautiful 8th mile drag strips in all of the world there amongst the cornfields. I don't know. Look at the calendar, funnycarchaos.com. You can see it on the Funny Car Chaos YouTube channel. You can see it regularly there on the Facebook page. You need to get to a Funny Car Chaos event, and I also am personally excited to be working with that group this year for 2022. Spectacular drag racing and characters, just like the voice of Funny Car Chaos that we just had on here on Between the Slicks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we went a little longer. Definitely want to ask a few more questions with David. Great show, and it was a great show because you took part in it. Please be sure to hit the like button for me and hit the share button for me, and be sure to be right back here next Thursday. It is my plan, wherever I'm at, to try to go live, and maybe we can have one of the newest crew chief additions in the NHRA world on the show, or anyone else with a story around drag racing, because this is Between the Slicks. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, God bless, and keep the pedal to the metal. Hero Soap Company is a veteran-owned establishment that produces all-natural, essential oils-infused soap that is sold with a portion of the proceeds supporting other veteran groups. Hero Soap Company. Heroes supporting heroes. Be a hero yourself and buy a bar and let freedom clean.